Not the result that you were hoping for this past weekend against Rochester, but impressed to see that your team had improved defensively?
Yeah, we spent pretty much 10 days working on the defensive shape and our shifts and our slides, roles and responsibilities, and just having a good mentality to defend our box. Um, unfortunately, they got a chance in the 88th minute, or no, I think it was 92nd minute, and we end up losing the game. But all in all, it was a pretty good performance defensively, and unfortunately, we didn't get the results that we wanted to. But that can happen in football. It's a cruel sport at times.
Is it frustrating to know that you guys could have hung on for that 1 point, but then Mo being ejected just ultimately was the demise in that game?
I mean, ultimately, we had a discussion in the locker room, and that'll stay in the locker room. We've pointed out a few things for sure. But to be fair to Mo, he's been our most consistent player since we started in preseason, and he's had a good season up to this point. So a little bit of a mental breakdown, and that can happen with young players, but hopefully it doesn't continue to happen, because as you can see over the last 3 games, we haven't finished with 11 people on the park, and that is a problem for sure.
This is a big game, a big week for you guys considering how many points are going to be on the line. How do you approach this weekend?
We'll take the first game first as it comes, make sure that we're ready physically and mentally for that game. There's going to be a lot of travel within the next 4 or 5 days, so making sure that we have our energy and shape about us. We've looked at St. Louis as well as Louisville, so we know what can be expected of them. We just have to go out there, and if we have the same defensive shape and mentality and work rate, which was fantastic, and we take a few of our chances, then I think we can get a few results.
You had said after the Rochester game that Alex Bono had put on one of his best performances. What did you like most?
Yeah, I think that was his coming out game. I think he was aggressive from all aspects, coming off his line, reading the play. I think his distribution was fantastic, and he made key saves, which you need your goalkeeper to make at certain points in the game, so in order to keep us in the match. So I thought his overall mentality and his aggression, when he shows that type of aggression in his play, then he's a better goalkeeper for it.
Seeing now that this team only has 7 goals within 6 games, you have offensive threats. Is it just a matter of getting them more involved in the attack?
Yeah, I think in the last game, I've watched it back, and we were sort of in transition defensively. Then we get into the attack in third, but we didn't have enough sustained possession in their third in order to create more opportunities. So that's something that we need to work on. However, the few opportunities that we did get, some lovely build-up play. I remember an opportunity in the first half that involved 4 or 5 players, ending with Jordan Hamilton going into the box and just being sort of taken down at the last minute. That was a pretty good attacking sequence, but we need more of that consistently moving forward.
Just to shift in topics here, tonight you will be inducted to the Brampton Sports Hall of Fame. How do you look back on your career?
How's my haircut? Looks pretty good, huh? I'm all cleaned up for it. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's a fantastic achievement for my family and a good sort of legacy in terms for the family. Like I said, it always comes down to family support for me, and my parents and my brother have been supportive of me throughout my whole career, and that lays the foundation for me to then go on and do some good things in the sport. So I'm humbled by the achievement, and just looking forward to the evening.
If you could pinpoint some shining moments in your career, what would it be?
Playing in the Under-20 World Cup for Canada was a good experience. Scoring a goal against Argentina, pretty good goal at that. Also playing for Canada with the World Cup team and World Cup qualifying, as well as the Confederation Cup for Canada, was a good achievement. And from my career standpoint, I think I had my best time at Plymouth Argyle, where we won 2 championships in 3 years, 2 promotions. Just playing in England, which was something I always wanted to do, was a good achievement, and we had a lot of success. So it was a good team with a good team spirit and some qualities. So I enjoyed my time there.
Do you miss the dreads?
No, still have them, but I don't miss them.
With Roberts with the first team, do you expect Engbers to make an appearance in St. Louis or Louisville?
Well, Alex Bono will be the starting goalkeeper. We're looking at things in terms of who's going to be the backup keeper to Bono. It could be Engbers or it could be somebody else, but we're analyzing that at the minute.
Jason, your career took you all over the place, to Europe. You had ups, you had downs. When you're trying to teach these young players and bring them to the level you were, do you dip back into that bag of experience a lot and refer back to your career to help them?
Yeah, I mean, a classic example was the game on the weekend, and I've been telling the players for weeks now, we have to be able to control our emotions in all different scenarios, because playing for Canada, you would go into CONCACAF and you'd be in Mexico or El Salvador or Honduras, and they do different tactics in order to wind you up or get you off your game mentally. So it's so important to control your emotions at all points of the game, because when you're in those trenches and in those hard moments, when it's 0-0 or whatever in any sort of game, you have to stay composed. Those are the times where you have to embrace it and stay composed so that you can perform to the best of your ability. But I don't like to always reflect back on my career to them, but there are certain moments that it sort of should hit home with them, because I've been in the trenches and know exactly what it's like. So hopefully that will help them moving forward.
Did you ever get sent off?
Yes, once. No, actually twice. Once in MLS, deserved red card, bad tackle. Went in 50-50, a little bit high. Deserved to get sent off there. And one time with Plymouth Argyle, where I was the last man on the goal line, and my hand went up and handball penalty shot. So to be fair, both were deserved sending off, but you always recognize when you make a mistake, and you have to put your hand up and recognize that you made the mistake. So.
And you have a young team. When you're playing USL teams each week, is it usually a much older teams that your Chargers are playing against, or are there some younger versions?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the MLS 2 teams, the majority of the teams are a little bit older, 24 years old up to 26, 27, a few older guys than that. But at the end of the day, professional football is, if you're good enough, it doesn't matter how young you are, and that shouldn't be a factor, because all around the world there's 18, 19-year-old guys playing senior first-team football. So I don't like to use that as an excuse whatsoever. It is what it is. This is a challenge that we have, and we have to deal with it and get used to it.
At what age did you realize that you had what it take to be a pro?
It was the Under-20 World Cup, because you're playing in a tournament with Roman Riquelme, Thierry Henry was in there, Michael Owen was in there, all these top players, and when you can perform on that stage and perform well, you start thinking to yourself, hold on a second, I can make a go of this. And for me, that was the realization after that tournament. And sure enough, a week later, I signed in Germany. So.
Last week you mentioned about, even though the 4 players that got called up, even if they don't play, it's still good to be part of the first team. Chapman did get subbed in. How do you think he did in this first time?
I thought he came on and he wasn't overawed by the occasion. Wanted to get on the ball, make passes. I think he got into a few tackles, committed a few tackles and suffered a few tackles early on. But he didn't show any sort of nerves and just played his game. And I think with more minutes as the season goes on, then he starts to get better and better. And definitely the games at the USL level are helping him in terms of his match fitness. But I think all in all, it's a positive.
And what do you expect from Louisville? They're also an expansion team like yourselves. Do you expect them to not have that much experience like Rochester, but they'll still give you a really a hard game?
I think it'll be a tough game regardless. Like I said, our whole focus is on St. Louis first and foremost, and then once we get through that game, then our focus can shift into Louisville.
Who are you looking at St. Louis? Is there any players that stick out to you, or?
I've watched their game back, but I haven't taken the notes as to which players are the real danger players. I know Brandon Barklage. He went off. He was a central midfield player, but I know him from his time when he played for DC United, as well as San Jose Earthquakes. But he's not a natural central midfield player. He's a right back by trade. The striker, the Jamaican guy up the front, he looks pretty big and solid. But they play a similar system to us, so it'll be a good test.
Do you think the last game you guys felt really calm? You guys felt even though Rochester was a more experienced team and they're in first place, you felt like, let's just hang back, and if they make a mistake, let's pounce on it. That's where you see where Hamilton came in a lot. And do you think playing more games is helping the team? They're not afraid of the more experienced teams.
I think straight from the very first game of the season, they played Charleston, who's known to be one of the better teams in the league, and they knew that they were so close to getting a result in that game. And gradually, even though we've lost 4 games now, we've been competitive in every single game. And some of the scores were 4-1, 5-1, but there were decisive moments in those games that really kind of tipped the scale in the opposition. So I think the team spirit and the guys having a realization that they can compete in this league, it's just sort of fine-tuning those moments so that we have a more consistent performance for a longer period of time in games rather than these sort of short bursts.
And do you really like the rain? Was a big issue. People were tweeting about this, saying it doesn't look on the stream. It doesn't look that bad, but was it really bad?
It was bad, and obviously the player's safety is always the most concern, and the sort of clouds were hovering right over the pitch. So I think the officials made a good decision to postpone the game for an hour, and I was out there with them just sort of monitoring the weather to see, but it was a bit humid and it wasn't really blowing as it is today, so the clouds weren't really blowing over as quickly as we probably would have liked.